you, man. Come on, man.
I already asked the first time everyone meets him, like, fucking hell,
Come on, man.
have you considered voice acting? Oh, fuck this guy, man.
This guy literally just say he wants to voice. He talks about Sword Art Online and voice acting. The icebreaker.
That's the
really?
first thing
Kaiso really
everyone
did
will
say
hear when
that?
you first meet Amir.
Then
Kaiso,
you
better do
brought
that.
me out on a date, huh? You eat macaroni. My guy understands me the best.
What is it? Snore, please.
Macaroni is psycho.
Macaroni is pretty good though. 5 ringgit. Holy shit! I
Kan
missed
murah
it.
kan.
Kawaii?
Shall
I
we
have no
start?
idea what.
Sumimasen.
Okay, sure. Yes. Ikuzo!
Ikuzo.
Anyway,
Dozo,
alright
sensei,
then.
dozo.
Right. Alright then. Then we'll be continuing in last week's grammar, I guess, because last week we only learned one grammar and it took like one whole class. But yes, we'll be continuing today. So the first grammar would be Miyari-san wa kami ga nagai desu. Does anyone know what does it mean? I tried to hide the English one.
Mary's hair is long.
Yeah.
Wait.
Wait, what? Okay. Miyari-san wa kami ga nagai desu. So basically, this is a grammar that it took from the reading practice at the beginning of the chapter. So basically, this is a way of saying someone's hair is long, as weird as it sounds a bit. Why is this being a grammar? But yeah. So, nani nani wa dare dare wa kami ga nagai desu, basically. So, as I mentioned, to describe someone's hair is long. So, for example, どうぞ会長。
はい。トムさんの髪は長いです。
そうそうそう。トムさんの髪は長いです。So this one is the what you call it the way to say to describe someone's hair is long. So basically you said 誰々の so this one is a person. For example 彼女の or what you call it その人の no represent is a particle that represents like a possessive like that is that person's punya barang or something like that. And kami is the word for hair. Kami. And nagai is the what you call it ikeyoshi or e adjective to describe long. So basically a person no kami wa nagai desu. This one is also correct, but for it to sound more natural to the Japanese, instead of no, the particle no, you change it to wa. So in other words, basically, トムさんは髪が長いです。It means it actually means the same. But it's just like it sounds more natural in Japanese, so you change it from no to wa. But of course, if you use no, it is still correct, and it's still like people still understand. So トムさんは髪が長いです。If you want to say the opposite, which is short, the hair is short, instead of nagai, you change it to mijikai. Mijikai, which means short. So, for example, トムさんは髪が短いです。So, it's the opposite of nagai. So this one is something you use to describe this person's punya appearance or some usually like that lah. So not only like hair, kami, and not only the adjective or long, you can change to like the body parts. For example, A-san. So A is a person. You put a person's name. A-san wa. So the first one is me. Does anyone know what me means?
Eyes.
So, eyes. Me. How about the second one, Mimi? What does Mimi means? No one knows?
Ears.
So, ears. Mimi. And then we have te, which is
Hands.
hands. So, te, hands. And the last one in this one is ashi, which is
Feet.
so feet, or you can also say legs. So the way to use it is like A-san wa. So a person's name A-san wa, then you say the body part. Me, mimi, te, ashi, or even the one that we just learned, kami, hair. Ga, a particle, and then you describe it with with adjectives. So this one is oki, which means
Big.
so big. And then we have chisai, which is
Small.
so small. And then lastly we have kawaii, which is I'm sure all of us knows it is cute. So you want to say that person has, for example, Noe. Noe has a big eyes. You want to say that. So you say Noe-san wa me ga ookii desu. For example, like that. So basically, this is the way how you construct it. However, there are some parts of the body, or like you want to explain that part, they have a certain words or adjective that is fixed to that one. For example, say like this one is height actually. Say means height. So usually we want to say the height, that person is tall. So you say sei ga takai. This one. Sei ga takai. Or the opposite of it, for short, which is sei ga hikui. So this one is, you have to be careful because there's another word for short too, which is the one that we just learned, mijikai. So this means short, but this is more in like, you don't use this one for height actually. For height, you say hikui. So hikui, in other words, like if you were to directly translate it, it kind of means low in terms of height lah. So this one sei ga hikui. It's not sei ga mijikai, no. So this one you have to be careful. And then if you want to say that person is smart or bright, so you say atama ga ii, basically. So atama is head, and then ii is a way of saying good. Ii or like yoi. So good. So far 大丈夫ですか？質問ありますか？
今はいい。
大丈夫ですか？他の皆さんは大丈夫ですか？ Everyone else? You guys okay? I hope you guys are okay. If you have any question, you can just stop me anytime.
大丈夫です。
はい。 Then we go to the next Ramadan.
I will do that.
God
Hey.
bless. God bless.
So the next one is joining sentence. So this one is especially when you want to add on more points usually. So for joining sentence, basically you just use the te form. This one we learned before. So how to show it? It can be like in terms of adjectives or e-adjective or non-adjective, or also you can use it for noun. So I guess first we go to the first example first. Anyone wants to read this? Anyone? I guess 3-second rules. Those are.
Oi. The kanji before no. I'm a lost cause for that one.
Oh, I see. They did not put.
はい。それでは、マグナムオパス。Alright. あの店の食べ物は、安くて、美味しいですよ。美味しいです。
So first one is あの店の食べ物は安くて美味しいです。So this one, first one. あの店. So あの is basically that. あの and then 店 means shop actually. Or in this context, restaurant. Shop or restaurant. Restaurant, there's also the katakana of it, which is ちょっとね。レストラン. This is the katakana of it. So あの店の食べ物. So 食べ物 means food.
ほい。
は安くて. So this one is where they conjugate it to the te form to combine another sentence. Usually if you don't have this sentence, you would just say 安いです. Right? You end it like that. But when you want to add on more points or more explanation towards about that topic, you have to change it to a te form, then you add on. Basically. So this one is this one, the e adjectives. Yasui, which means cheap. Cheap. So you change it is to yasukute. So this one is we already learned how to conjugate some of the adjective and also verbs. So for the new members, don't worry. Later I will ask you about this, the beginners class. But yes, you basically have to conjugate the word to te form. So it will become yasukute. Yasukute. So that is why they use yasukute, because they want to add more points at the end. So yasukute and then oishii desu. Oishii, of course, it means delicious. So basically, the two main things that they want to say is that it is cheap and also delicious. That's why they use the te to combine these two. So basically, that is the point of this te form. Next one, maybe Kanemi-san, do you want to try? Hmm? 大丈夫ですか? Kanemi-san? Or is it that your mic cannot do?
Siapa?
Kanemi.
Kanemi. Sekejap.
Can you hear me now? Okay.
Okay.
Right.
So,
Okay. ホテルは綺麗で
Kanemi, try to do push to talk and then mute yourself.
Nah, it's
I
okay
see.
for now.
So.
Yeah, it wasn't working just now.
Oh, it's
Hi.
it's okay.
No worries. そうそうそう。ホテルは綺麗で良かったです。ホテルは綺麗で良かったです。So, ホテル, of course, it means hotel. Is the katakana of it. は綺麗で. So, this one is the way of to conjugate a na adjective, actually. So, na, basically, you just add on de at the end. The word kirei. The adjective itself is kirei. And then kirei na. So, instead, you'll change to, you just replace the na with de. So, it'll become kirei de. Kirei na. And then kirei de. So this is how you conjugate a na adjective to a te form. So, kirei de yokatta desu. Yokatta means basically it's like it was good lah, basically. So the two main point they wanted to say was that it was clean and that it was also good, the place. And basically in this context, they were happy with the hotel lah. So, ホテルは綺麗で良かったです。Next one, maybe 会長どうぞ。
山下し山下先生は日本人で、50をあれは何ですか、50歳ぐらいです。
そうそう。そうそうそうそう。
This isn't the side that we learned. This is smart lines.
Yes, exactly.
これは
The
何です
side
か
that
先
we
生
learned this one.
Itulah. Apa ni? Everyone, discriminasi. The original one is right there.
I guess this one is the one that is quite used a lot. Yes.
Apakah ini sensei?
山下先生は日本人で50歳ぐらいです。山下先生は basically 山下先生 is 日本人。日本人 is a noun which means Japanese. If you notice, there's a kanji of hito at the end. So basically, if you put a country name and then the kanji of hito at the end, basically it means the nationality of that country. So this one is Japanese. So it's a noun. Usually, noun is kind of like this one. Noun plus des. So how you conjugate it to the te form, basically you just remove the su. 日本人で basically. So you just remove the su and then you just leave it like that. That is how you conjugate it into the te form. So 日本人で50歳ぐらいです。50歳 how old? This is 50. Because this is the kanji of 5. And this one is 10. I chose favorite kanji. So, go and 10. Basically a plus sign. So, 50歳. This one is a kanji that represents age actually. Sai. Kinda the same as this one, but this one is the simpler version of the kanji. And then gurai actually means about. For example, you want to say about 1 hour. So, 1時間ぐらい. You use this gurai to describe like about or around. This. So basically, the 2 points they want to say is Yamashita sensei is Japanese and also 50 years old. These 2 points. So they use this te form to they conjugate it into te form and basically combine these 2 sentences. So for any questions, 質問ありますか?
ないです。
大丈夫ですか?
いいです。
Then we'll go to the next one.
大丈夫です。
はい。 So this one is how do you say? This is the grammar where you kind of describe the purpose of that person is going there or like moving to another place, basically. So how do you use it is first you put a destination of the movement. For example, like Gakko, which is school. Gakko, or Byoin, which is hospital. Byoin. And then this is the particle of whichever you want to use. And then you add on the purpose of the movement. So basically this is usually like a verb. You put a verb inside it. And then you add the particle of ni, and then you can use iku, kuru, or kairu depending on the context. So iku means to go. And then kuru is to come. While kairu, this one is iku. And then this one is kuru. And this one is kaeru, which is to go home, basically. Go or back. So the way to use this one is that you first have to put it into the mass form, actually. The mass form first. Mass form. So for example, we use one, taberu. So taberu is what you call it, the dictionary form. Taberu. And then if you change it to the mass form, it become tabe. Oh my, I'm mixing alphabets and hiragana. Tabemasu. This one is what you call the formal form or mass form. Tabemasu. So basically, the way to use this grammar is basically this verb. You just simply replace you just remove the mas, and you take at the front part only. This is what you call it, the stems of it. So you take the front part only. Even like for example, other one would be kaku, which means to write. This means to write, and then you change it to the mas form. It will become kaki masu, the formal form. Kaki masu, which is to write. So how do you use it? Is basically you just remove the mas at the end. So I guess it will be more clearer if you see the example. So the first one, maybe Kanemi-san, you want to try?
デパートにカバンを買いに行きました。
そうそうそうそう。デパートにカバンを買いに行きました。So if you notice this one, the kai, it comes from the word kaimasu, which is the mas form. So when you want to use this grammar, basically you just remove the mas at the end, and you just put kai, and then add on with the particle. So departo means department store, usually. Departo ni kaban means bag. Kaban. Oh, kai, which is kaimasu, which is to buy. It means a verb that means to buy. But they change it, they remove the masu, it'll become kai ni, and then ikimashita. So basically, what they want to trying to say is the purpose of that person going to a department store is to buy a bag. So this one describes the purpose of this guy going there. So hence it is the purpose of movement phrase consisting of verb. So another example, maybe Kaicho, どうぞ。
はい。 メアリさんは
うん
日本に日本語を勉強し、勉強しに来ました。
そうそうそう。みゃりさんは日本に日本語を continue down here 勉強しに来ました。So みやりさんは日本 means Japan actually 日本に日本語 So basically if you see this kanji behind a country's name for example like Marego So if you see this kanji, it basically means language actually, especially behind a name behind there. So this one, if it's Nihon, is Japan. So if you add go, basically it's the Japanese language. And then benkyou suru. This one. Benkyou suru. So this one is the dictionary form of to say to benkyou suru, to study. But if you change it to a mass form, it'll become 勉強します. So to use this grammar, you just basically remove the mas at the end, this one. So it'll become し. You add the particle. So 勉強しに来ました. So that is how you use this grammar. First, you put a destination. It can be デパート、学校、病院、公園, you know? And then you add the particle. It can be ni or e. And then the purpose of the movement. So for example, you go to school to study. The purpose of your going to school is to study. So 学校に勉強しに行きました. You know? Like that. So far 大丈夫ですか? 質問ありますか?
いいです。
Again, if you have any question, you can just stop me anytime. So, and then this one, the last one. So the last one. So basically, this is just how to what you call it, count people. So counting people is quite easy. So basically, what you want to do, you just use a number at the front. You add a number, and then you just add nin at the back. However, there is two exception, which is for one person or two people. This one an exception where it is like they have a special way of reading it. So this one is better for you to memorize. For example, the first one is hitori. And then the second one is futari. So these are the only two that have a different way of pronouncing it, which is they don't use nin, but instead they use ri at the back. So this one is definitely something better to memorize rather than, understanding it.
はい。
Yeah. Seeing it. So, and the others is basically you just use a number at the front and then you add nin at the back. So for example, like san nin, yonin. So this one, yonin, is also a bit special because if you know, the number 4, you have two ways of pronouncing it, which is What's my panic? That's okay. Which is yom. This is for number 4. Yom or chi, actually. But if you want to count people, you don't use the shi one. You don't use it. Instead, you use yom. But even if you use yom, when it comes to adding with the nin, this n will be here. So it'll become yo only. Because if you put the n itself like that, it'll become like yon nin. Like this. But it'll be a bit difficult to pronounce it. So that's why they change it. Instead of this one, it'll become yonin. So this one also a special reading it. So yonin. And then the others is like you just use the number go, which is gonin, and then rokunin, and then number 7 shichinin or nananin. Of course, they have for number 7 you have 2 ways of pronouncing it. It's shichi or nana. Sanin, yonin, gonin, rokunin, and then this one is shichinin or nananin. Okay. Nana. Nin. And then we have for 8 people, hachinin. And then 9 people is kyunin. And lastly for this one is junin. So any numbers above 2, which is 3 until the end, whatever number you want, you when counting people you use nin until the end. Only the first 2, which is the 1 person and 2 people, only have a different way of pronouncing it. 大丈夫ですか？質問ありますか？
大丈夫。
はい。So when you want to say like this, there are like this amount of people in this at this place, for example, you can use this one. So person, it can be like students, which is 学生. 学生. So 学生, or you can also use 先生. So any type of person. Ga is basically a particle, and then X is the number, and then of course imas. Imas means basically there is. It means there's. But this one is for living things. There is also there's for non-living things. Like maybe you want to say there are like 4 tables in this room. So you use arimasu. Arimasu. So this one is for non-living things. So for example, I guess 会長どうぞ。
はい。私のクラスには、スウェーデン人の学生が一人います。
そうそうそう。私のクラスに and then you can also use wa, or if you do not want to use wa, it's also correct. Basically, ni wa, it makes more the sentence more orang kata structured and perfect lah. But in terms of not putting wa, can also watashi no kurasu ni. So can also Sweden. Jin. の学生が一人います。So basically, 私のクラスには class mean class. It can also means like in terms of classroom, or it can mean in terms of like class as if the lesson class. So 私のクラスには in my class スウェーデン人. So Sweden is the word for Sweden, actually Sweden. But when you add this kanji, which is read as jin actually, this one, jin. So basically, it'll become the nationality of that country. So Swedish. And then gakse means student. Ga hitori imasu. So they want to say there is one Swedish student in the class. In my class. So it can be like futari or 3人がいます. So this is how you say it. How many person is there in that place or in that class or something. 質問ありますか？大丈夫ですか？
大丈夫。
Then we'll go for the 表現ノート which is expression notes. 表現 notes ね。表現ノート. So the first one is the verb of asobu. So asobu itself, if you were to directly translate it, it means play. Like to play actually. So this verb itself can mean in terms of like playing as if playing a game. How do you say? They have different, for this certain action, they have different verbs of it. For example, if you were to say in English, you want to play a tennis, but in Japanese, you don't say tennis or asobu. You don't say that. Even though in terms of context, asobu actually means play. But asobu actually, in this context, it means to spend time pleasantly or to play a social, or basically like this one means like you spend time with your friends or you go somewhere with your friends, that kind of context actually. So for example, the first one is, anyone wants to try this? None? じゃあ会長どうぞ。
はい。頑張ります。
うん。
子供の時。
そう。
子供の時、よく子供の時、よく友達と遊んでいた。遊びました。
そう、子供の時。子供の時。So 子供 means children, usually. Children. And then toki kind of represents like a time or like moment actually. So usually in this context, it means that when we were kids. Yoku tomodachi. Tomodachi. So yoku means frequently actually. It means frequently. Tomodachi, of course, means friends. To means with. Sobimashita. So in this context, it kind of means like, oh, when I was a kid, I used to play with my friends. This one is the first one to play as if like spend time pleasantly. And then we have also the second one. Actually, do you want to try this one too?
Sure.
Also.
Okay, let's see what we got here.
Oh no, can you see this one? This is a bit like. This one means last week.
はい。先週の。
This one, ちょっと待って。
もうできない。先週の週末は、
うん。
東京に
うん。
遊びました。遊びに行きました。
そうそうそうそう。
いい感じでした。
先週の週末は東京に No, no, 遊びに行きました。So 先週 means last week. 先週の週末。週末 means weekend. 週末は東京、of course 東京に遊びに行きました。So this one is the grammar that we learn. So the purpose that this person go to Tokyo is to, to spend time actually. 遊びに. So 遊び means to, this one kinda means this one. Or like to spend time pleasantly. So that's why if you were to translate it, it means that I went to Tokyo to have fun last weekend. So 遊びに行きました. And then the last one is, I might as well just read this one. 私の家に遊びに来てください. So this one is more to an invitation. 私の家に遊びに来てください. 私の家. 家 actually means my home actually. My home or my place basically. And then this one, 遊びに来て. This one is the one that we learned the grammar just now. So ください is kinda like please, or in this term it means an invitation. So basically this person is inviting that person to come to their home or house for the purpose of, to spend time together or to play together. So 遊びに来てください. Or in terms of context, it can also mean this. Please come and see us. So, and then the one that I mentioned that even in English, if we were to say like, let's play tennis. In Japanese, you don't say asobu, but instead you use this kind of word. テニスをする. The verb they use for the noun is different. So テニスをする for to play tennis. Or even game. You don't say ゲームを遊ぶ. No, you say ゲームをする. Basically, する is the word like to do actually. But in terms of this kind of noun, you use this one, which means to play tennis or games. Or even like cards. You don't say カードを遊ぶ, but instead you say cards in Japanese, they use this one. トランプ, which comes from the word trump. Trump, I think? Yeah, trump cards. トランプをする. So this one is for this one. And then even for music, usually in English you would say play the guitar. But in Japanese you don't say ギターを遊ぶ, no. But instead, you say ギターを弾く. So ギターを弾く. So this is the thing where you have to pay attention because especially for the new vocabs, they would usually list down the noun and then the verb that is used with that noun. So that is why it's a bit different in Japanese. So instead of directly translating it, you have to understand which verb goes with which noun. So that's the importance of the new vocab punya page though. So, and then lastly is 知る and or わかる. So the difference, because if I'm not mistaken, Shazrin asked this question, what is the difference between shiru and wakaru actually? So shiru actually means to know, but wakaru means to understand. That's the difference between these two. So for example, if I ask a what you call it, a question like wakarimashita ka, like do you understand what I'm teaching? You would usually answer like either wakarimashita or wakarimasen if you don't understand. So shiru, kinda, if you were to answer shiru, or like shirimasen, it will actually end up kinda sounding a bit rude, like as if like how would I know that? You know, that kind of answer actually. So even in English, like how would I know that? It would be a bit, sounds a bit ignorant, that kind of tone actually. So instead, when someone asks you like, do you understand? You would answer with wakarimashita or wakarimasen.
Shiruka.
So if someone say that shiruka, is actually it's actually correct word. Like you use that, but it'll be a bit very rude lah. That's the thing lah. So. So far 大丈夫ですか？
答えはそこである。このホワイトボード。
ホワイトボード。
先生。
知るか。
知るか。The guy stands with such dramatic. I'm kidding. It's a joke.
So that is for the Hyogen part, the expression. So usually expression note is more to used in like conversation actually, converse. So that means we have another 7 minutes. So this one I already taught actually, which is more, which one is used for the what you call it, family terms. So family terms, and this one, I guess we can cover the family terms. The other one will continue in the next class. So family terms, I think most of us know the Japanese way of like calling a father, mother, or brother, older brother, younger brother. But the thing is, there are different ways of calling them depending on your context, especially when it comes to calling other people's father or mother, like families, or when referring to your own actually. So when you call other people's, usually you go for this one. So for father, of course, it will be otou-san. Otou-san. Oh my. Otou-san. And then we of course for mother we have oka-san. Older brother we have oni-san. Oni-san. Older sister we have one-san. And then younger brother we have ototo-san. Younger sister we have imoto-san. And if you notice, all of them have san, which referring to other people, which is a respectful way of referring to other people's family. And of course, we also have husband and wife. So when you are referring to other people's husband, you would say go shujin. Or for wife, you say okusan. And then for grandfather, we have oji-san. Grandmother, we have oba-san. And lastly, we have child. That person's child, we call it oko-san. So of course, this is the way of referring to other families, calling other people's family. But when it comes to referring to your own, we have two types, which is the formal or informal. So informal, usually you use for your friends, your close one, or when you are talking to your own family. When it's formal, of course, when you are talking to someone else, someone who is older than you, or someone is more respectable than you, for example, like your teacher or your lecturer. So if it's like the formal one, you refer your own father as chichi. And then your own mother as haha. If your older brother, it is ani. Older sister is ane. But that one is for formal. But when it comes to informal, basically you can just use this one actually. You can use oto-san actually. It's actually correct. It's just informal. But they would usually people would call this more to chichi when referring to their own father or mother, haha. So informal version is basically the same as referring to other people's family punya pronunciation. However, when it comes to younger brother or younger sister, both of this one is the same, so you can call it just like that, which is ototo, without the son, like this one. So if it's younger sister, it will become imoto. So continuing for husband. So the difference between when referring to your own formally is that there's no go at the front like this one. So instead it will be just become shujin. Or you can also call it as otto. Usually people go for otto actually. Otto. And then for wife, there is kanai. Or you can also call suma. Watashi no suma. Watashi no otto. So. And then for grandfather, we have sofu. Sofu. And then we have sobo.
Son.
Sobo. So when like if you want to refer them to like the way of informal way of it. So for husband, you can call them as danna. Danna. Or uchi no hito. Uchi no hito. So hito of course means people, but uchi kinda means like because I what you call it? I explained that the word uchi means my home or like my house. So basically that is referring to that lah, the person in my house, actually. So, and then we also have what you call this? Okusan. For wife, okusan or yome-san. Because yome actually means bride. So, mahousukai no yome-san to ka. Yome. And then we have for grandfather, we have oji-san. And then oba-san.
Baba.
So, バーバー。呼ばないで、他の人に呼ばないで、それ。
ごめんなさい。
They'll be like, this rude kid.
日本人じゃないです。ただ、外人です。よくありますね。
They'll be like, oh, okay, it's okay, now you're forgiven.
All of a sudden, I got thrown to a volcano. I'm like, これは何ですか？Okay のじゃないです。
Okay のじゃない。So when referring to your own child, you can say うちの子。Kind of like the same as this one, うちの人, but instead うちの子。子 kind of represents child. So this one is referring to yours, but there's also other ways of calling them when it comes to your own father or your family lah. So the first one we have oto-san, which is the same, oto-san, or you can use the Western style, which is papa. There's also, and then mother, of course, oka-san, and then we have mama. For older brother and older sister, we have the oni-chan. This is where you use chan or one-chan. And then for Ototo, Imoto, because basically they are younger than you, so you don't really have to call them respectfully in terms of,
Imoto-yo.
Imoto よ.
お前は尊敬しています。
And then we have the what is this? Husband. So sometimes like even in Malaysia, when you call your own husband as macam what your children calls him, like abah, or ayah, that kind of word. So this is how you use it too. So you can also use or okasan. And then we have for the grandfather, we have oji-chan. This one usually like, masa daripada when they were young, from their young, they will get oji-chan, or oba-chan, So, oba-chan. So basically that is how you would refer to your family like that. 質問ありますか?
ないです。
Hi. I guess for this chapter, we'll stop here. This one will continue next class. And then for next class, we'll enter the new chapter. However, I have questions for the new member now. I mean, the class is finished for now. For today, the class is finished. However, I have a question. So I'm planning to do a class from beginning, but I kind of wonder which date do you prefer to have, because it'll be 1 day a week for the beginner class, and then 1 day would be the continuation for this chapter. So which one would you guys prefer? Monday or Tuesday? It'll be the same time, 9:30 to 10:30.